I just want to say, Coach Cordy, really hit the nail on the head. I mean, this has been an excellent experience for us and for our players. To get here, the welcome that we got from the moment that we got here, everything was so well organized and just really seamless and easy and smooth. I have to say, if you had to pick a favorite, it's without question has to be the service day. I was fortunate enough I got to go to the Buddy Ball event, which was an incredible thing to get to see and to get to experience and watch our kids be a part of. And I'll say this, both teams' players were phenomenal and made a difference in that day. But then you get back to the hotel and you hear the guys that went to the other places, and they had just as much fun. So, it's obviously the football game is what gets us all here, but it's just perspective and that there's a whole lot more to this thing than just football, and I'm proud that we got to be a part of it. When you get to the back end of the bowl week, then it becomes more and more about football, which that's what got us here. So, we've enjoyed being able to prepare here. We've gotten to go. Sarah Land High School was a gracious host for us to get to practice over there. Did a great job. And now we're getting closer to getting dialed into game time, and that's something that we're excited about for sure. So, certainly we worked really hard to get to this point, like everybody does, and you want the opportunity to go finish the season the way that you want to, right? And you want to finish it off. Our guys have put together a pretty good win streak with 4 in a row, and we're going to try like hell to go make it 5. But we certainly have our challenges in front of us with Delaware and with Coach Carty and what they've done. It's a really good football team. So, I expect it to be probably like the last 4, where it'll be a dogfight all the way to the end. Well, I certainly think that that's something that has been pretty seamless for us, and I'll give Dr. Wingert a shout out here. Our director of football operations, chief of staff, he makes that part of my life really easy. Just when we get in there, I tell him put the manual together, and I'll look at it after, and if there's things that I think we need to change, we change it. But, Troy does a great job for us of getting all that stuff lined up. Our administration's been great. They've helped us get all this stuff streamlined and ready to go. So that's one part of it that, is a whole lot easier. And truthfully, once you kind of get to a bowl game, then you have a little bit of a shell to work off of. And for us, that part of it has been really good and seamless.
Coach, you have 2 star quarterbacks on your sidelines, Walker and Lunch. Both looked sharp yesterday in practice. How much confidence does it give you to know that if one goes down, the other one is rip roaring ready to go?
Well, the one thing I think that we've seen here my 4 years here as the head coach is, you always have to have more than one quarterback ready to go. No, I mean, it's nothing but confidence in knowing that you've got multiple guys that can go out there and go play and you feel like can win you games. And, Lunch has looked really good. After the UL Monroe game, where he couldn't finish, I wasn't sure, what that meant for him in the postseason, but he's worked really hard to get back. Our training staff has done a phenomenal job of getting him back and getting him ready to go. So excited about that. And Walker, Walker's been phenomenal, man. I mean, for a kid who's been through what this guy's been through, in the national spotlight and all these things, and he comes back home and wins the job, and then to get hurt in the first game and not get much of an opportunity to improve and to get another chance at it, to come in that UL Monroe game and play the way he did in the fourth quarter. I mean, you can't write a story better than that. We have a lot of faith in both of them, full confidence in both of them. I'm proud of both of those young men and the way they've led. I get to sit in that quarterback room every week, and I've told them this. I'm very grateful for the guys in that room because, not every room's like that. You got 5 quarterbacks in there that they're each other's biggest fans. They pull for each other every day. They're constantly helping each other, talking through things that they're seeing, on each side of it. And I'm grateful, but certainly very, very confident in both of them if we need them.
Hey, Coach, Kevin Tressman from DelWareOnline.com. You said last week that you guys hadn't seen this year very many pass-oriented teams like Delaware or other defenses that kind of use Delaware's 3-safety scheme. What's the challenge in that for you guys tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think I'll start with defense, as that's where I've spent most of my time. It's a unique. it's really unique because they find ways to get a lot of people involved in the run game. They'll pressure 7 at times, and then next time you turn around, they're dropping 8, and there's a 3-man rush. So there's a lot of variables in there. They do a really good job. Their safeties, they let them run to the football. They let them play really free. Certainly, you can tell it's all within the parameters of what they're doing on defense. But it's a unique scheme. There's different people in different places all the time. They find ways to get extra hats to the ball. Sometimes it's the corners, the primary force guys. Sometimes it's the safety, and those kids do a really good job of getting in there and fitting it. We haven't really played a defense really similar to this probably since Old Dominion in 2023, I would say. So it's not something that we see a lot in our league. We've had some 3 safety structures, but they base out of 4 down, which all that stuff makes it very different. And then for us, with our offensive line, it's trying to figure out, what's the best things that we can get to that those guys can go and operate right now with where we are. So it's a really well-coached unit. I think their guys up front do a really good job. They got some big bodies inside. Those kids do a really good job holding the point against the run, making the ball spill to their extra help with the safeties. And I think their safety, their rover, we call it the rover, does a heck of a job. I mean, he fits everything. It seems like he's always in the right spot. Offensively, it's I don't know, it's kind of cool. I mean, because our league is really a run-first league, and even the teams that have a bunch of passing yards and throw a whole lot, the Texas States of the world, they're going to run the ball first. So, and certainly not that Delaware doesn't. They run the ball really effectively, and I think Coach Carty said it. I've been as impressed with the O-line as any group that they've got. I think they look big and long. They're athletic. They cover people up. No one runs out in the street in one-on-one situations in pass pro. They do a really good job. They're very athletic. We've got to be able to get some pressure on the quarterback. Anytime you play a team that throws the ball, you got to make them uncomfortable. Even if you're not getting sacks, you got to get them off the spot. They have so many guys that affect the passing game for them, from tight ends to receivers. They have so many guys that it looks like there is no primary that you can really double and really feel like you can get a beat on who they're trying to go to first and all these things. It looks like the quarterback does an excellent job. He's reading defenses and he's going through progressions, and they have a lot of guys who make plays. So that's always a challenge. I don't know, just manning it up and trying to play man across the board. Sometimes when you have a team where it's 1 or 2 receivers, you can do that and you put your best on them. But sitting in zones not necessarily the answer either, because I think their quarterback has done a phenomenal job throughout the year of going where the ball needs to go, and they got a bunch of guys who make plays. So it's exciting to me for us on defense because we haven't played it. I hope we can get some of our pass rushers going and get some pressure and get the quarterback moving a little bit. And get to see some of our young DBs hopefully go out there and go, get to play the ball in the air and things like that. We haven't created a ton of turnovers as far as interceptions go. Not going to be easy to do this week, but I think if the pass rush and coverage are working together, hopefully we get some opportunities. And in this game, it's going to be huge. We've got to make some of those plays. I think the games that we've been able to win and games we've been able to jump out on people, we've gotten some takeaways, and that's been kind of our formula to win. We got to protect it on offense, and we got to create some takeaways.
Along with star quarterbacks, you have some stud running backs in that room as well. How do you balance feeding them all the ball tomorrow?
Every game's different, for us, it always starts with trying to establish the run. And it's no secret that, our run game is is where we're most comfortable. We've gotten a lot better in the throw game as the year's going on, but that was certainly a struggle early on. You kind of go with the hot hand, and you hope that you can create some space and create some seams. We've got to be able to get them to the third level, and we've got to be able to get them to make some people miss. So I think whoever's got the hot hand, whoever's making, whoever's getting the most out of each touch and carry, it's kind of who we go with. But it's kind of, again, I go back to it when you have a room of guys that, they show up every day, they go to work, they block whenever, we ask them to block in pass pro or it's lead blocking for the quarterback. I expect them to do whatever we need to do to try to generate some offense, and that's kind of what it's been the second half of the year is, week by week, we got to we go out there with a plan, and you got to be ready to adjust and try to figure out a way to get some yards and get some points. And, hopefully we can hand the ball to them, and then we can do that. But if not, we got to figure out another way to do it.
You mentioned about the offensive line room, and you guys have experienced a ton of injuries throughout the season with that. And with these younger guys that are going to get a chance to play, how much have you seen them kind of embrace a trial by fire type of mentality of, hey, this might be my first career start, or I only have a handful of them, and they've kind of leaned into that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a day in fall camp where I got on the young guys pretty good. You got ones, twos, and threes that go, and our third group was going. I wasn't really happy with the third group and the production in that group. And, and I told them in fall camp, you're a handful of plays away from having to be there. So to think about that day to where some of those guys are now, it makes you really proud. And enough credit can't go to Steve Farmer and P.J. Burkhalter and those guys for keeping their foot on the gas all year and keeping them, and keeping them in the fight, because, when you're a freshman and you walk in and you look, our offensive line at the beginning of the year, we felt like we had 10 guys that we were going to play and roll and get ready to go. And, you're a true freshman coming in. There's not a whole lot of light at the end of the tunnel, and human nature is, it's hard to work while you wait. It's hard to really put in the time that's necessary, when it doesn't look like you're going to get any type of reward in the near future. And those guys really have, and look, I think when you get in these situations, whatever happens, you just hope your kids play really well. And those guys are going to be good players in the long run. Things that have happened this year, all the difficult things we've been through, in the long run, it's going to be really good for our team, and it's going to be great for their development. You just hope in the short term they go play well, and you hope they go do something that they're proud of, and wherever it ends up, it ends up. That's part of playing the game. But they've worked incredibly hard to get to this point and be in this position. I'm really pleased with the progress they've made. I've said it before, these bowl games are so important for the continued development of your program, and getting 7, 8, 9, 10 extra practices that people that are at home don't get. It's been unbelievable for these young guys and these young O-linemen. And, I expect them to go. They're going to play hard. They're going to play really hard, and I hope for them they go play well, because, they deserve to.
Hey, Coach, you and Ryan are both former quarterbacks. I know you played some other positions. You're both former quarterbacks at the school where you are now the head coach. I know how much it means to Ryan. I mean, how awesome is that for you to be the coach of your alma mater, and to be in another bowl situation?
There's some things that you can never even wish for, and this is one of those things for me. To be in this position, a place that I love dearly. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I have here. As a player, this place said yes and gave me an opportunity to come here and play. And I was not a very highly recruited player. I was, went to a small school and, kind of, had whatever success that was. But they gave me an opportunity. As an assistant coach, I was coaching high school football, and I thought that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I was good with it, loved it, enjoyed it. Coaching kids is what I always wanted to do. And then, gave me an opportunity. It was actually Mark Hudspeth gave me an opportunity to come on as an assistant. Was so grateful for that. When that tenure had run its course, Dr. Maggard was here. I was kind of the interim between Coach Hudspeth and Coach Napier getting here. You never know what that ends up being. Coach Napier gets in and gives me another opportunity to stay here. And then certainly whenever he left, getting the opportunity to be the head coach here is something I would have, never would have dreamed of. So it means everything, and sometimes I think it makes it harder. I'm sure Coach Carty would tell you this too, because everything's so personal. When you care this much about a place, it makes everything more personal. The losses, the things we go through today, with the portal and things like that, you're not mad or bitter. It's just, it is a personal thing. And it would be a lot easier if it wasn't. But it makes the success so much better too, because, I couldn't be more proud of our team and what they've been able to put together on the back half of this year. It was pretty bleak there for a while. When you're sitting there at 2-6, and we had really high expectations at the beginning of this year. We had a group that I felt really good about coming back, and we did struggle a little bit. And I knew it was going to take us a while to kind of iron it out. But to see these guys rally around each other, it just makes you feel like they get what it's about to be a part of this team and be a part of this culture. And that's what makes me as proud as anything.